Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Harborough series. Harborough is the southernmost district of the East Midlands county of Leicestershire. There are 91 parishes here, so let's put the spotlight on one. Hello everybody, welcome to Leicestershire for the very first time and to the district of Harborough. Nikki's with me.
Hi.
Hello. Now we're big
already.
Yes, it is quite warm again today.
6 a.m.
Yeah, 6 a.m, believe it or not. But when it's this warm, you've got to get out early and do them, otherwise you're just going to bake. So here we are at a brook that hasn't got a lot of water in it at the moment. That's probably something to do with the heat. Anyway, you'll find this in the beautiful little village of Walcote, which forms part of the parish of Misterton with Walcote. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Here we go with a brand new county, Leicestershire, and we begin with Misterton with Walcote in the Harborough District, Leicestershire's southernmost division. Misterton with Walcote sits just off the M1 at Junction 20. We could have easily walked it from Lutterworth where our hotel was because it's that close. Here, we're in a parish made up of two settlements. Misterton is by far the smaller, but it's where the parish church is. And then there's Walcote, slightly to the east along the A4304 towards Market Harborough. There's historical evidence to suggest Walcote used to be the centre of an important thoroughfare until its 18th century decline. There were two turnpike routes here, the longer of which is pretty much the route of the A4304 today. It was used by mail coaches on the London to Holyhead route. Speaking of decline, Misterton used to be much more important than it is today, and there's even a deserted village to talk about here as well. The parish lies in the ancient Guthlaxton Hundred. That's a name that you might well hear a few times over the course of this series. It was located in the southern division of the county. The local river is the River Swift, and you can see it from the churchyard in Misterton. Let's see what else we can see here. Our trip around Misterton with Walcote begins at the Church of St Leonard in Misterton. The church dates back to before 1567 and was restored in 1863. It can seat 286 people. The churchyard has some interesting features, including a folly and a seat made out of a tree. The church had chapels in the surrounding area, most notably at a place called Pulteney. The clue as to why is in the name Misterton. A long time ago, we covered another Misterton in Bassetlaw. In much the same way as there, Misterton was once Minster or Minsterton. It literally meant Minster town, and this church was what's known as a mother church to all the others. In times past, this would have been the centre of the local population. Misterton Manor is next door. In the church there are alabaster tombs, one of which is topped with a figure. That's the tomb of Michael Pulteney, the lord of the manor of Misterton and Pulteney. So the far larger settlement here is Walcote, which is where we're heading now. I'll put the camera on the dash and drive down into Walcote so you get the bit between them. Along the road to Walcote, we can speak a bit more about the local history. Misterton's decline in population is attributed to the Black Death. For the same reason, Pulteney has disappeared altogether. Once considerable, Misterton had all but disappeared by about 1507. In 1564, records indicated that it consisted of only 3 families, one of whom was the Pulteneys. They lived at Misterton Hall. By the 17th and early 18th centuries, the hall became the residence of the Crewe Offley family, and by the late 18th century it was owned by Napthali Franks and his descendants. The Franks family were generous benefactors of the area and are commemorated by Franks Road in Walcote. The hall was then owned by the Cromwells and since 1967 by the Cravens. Walcote was industrially associated with hosiery. There were 70 framework knitters in Walcote in 1840. In the first half of the 20th century, Walcote was still very much a rural village. It's grown a bit since then. In Walcote, we start at the end of Brook Street where there's a parish notice board. Mark it off, people, that's the first one down in Leicestershire. It's called Brook Street for a pretty obvious reason. Here's the brook, although it looks a little dry. When it has some water in it, it flows northwards to join the River Swift. Now we're on the A4304 and there's a lovely little community garden here. Green space is something Walcote seems to do very well. There are at least 3 public green spaces here. Here we've got an advert for the Walcote and Misterton Village Show, which is held at the Memorial Hall. In 2018 it featured games, food and drink and a hog roast by the local pub. Sounds good to me. So I'm not walking too far in this direction towards Market Harborough because up here it's generally housing, nothing much more than that. Although I have noticed there is a gate just there. I don't know what's behind that, but I will check it out in a moment. And across the road we've got the Black Horse, which doesn't look like your traditional pub, does it? The pub is the only one within Walcote. The Black Horse reopened in 2017 after a spell of closure. Another former pub, the Tavern Inn, which we'll come to later, is now a private dwelling. It turns out there wasn't anything of note behind that gate. In fact, it wasn't even a gate, it was just a fence that looked like a gate. Beyond it, there's some livestock in a field. The village has a petrol station and it doubles as the local shop. Nikki used it to get a morning coffee. It offers both petrol and diesel, although we won't talk about the price. Bus information now, and the one you need to catch to get to Walcote is the same one which will feature in a lot of the villages on this run, the 58 between Lutterworth and Market Harborough. So it's pretty much the same story the other way, mainly residential this way back towards Lutterworth. I'm just going to walk as far as this gorgeous 3-storey townhouse and then we'll turn back. I mean, you saw this on the camera driving into Walcote anyway, so I haven't really missed anything here. And then we'll go back and head up Franks Road towards the village hall. That's the next major landmark. It's a beautiful place even at this time in the morning. Here's a sign for a B&B. The property in question is Little Lodge, which is highly rated. According to their own website, they boast a stunning garden and serve locally sourced English breakfasts. There's a nice information board about the place here. One thing it won't tell you is the story of the Thrupney Bit murder, a gruesome tale of a strangling here in 1911, Walcote's most notorious crime. Opposite this, we've got the Old Tavern Inn pub. Situated at 21 Lutterworth Road, this pub closed in early 2014, was sold at an auction and converted into a private dwelling. How's that coffee, missus?
I would buy it today.
It's
already warm.
Yes, it is going to be warmer than yesterday.
It's like what time? About 6:30 in the morning?
Yeah, this has got to be some kind of record. Even though I was out extremely early in Burnley when my car broke down, I think this beats it. But strangely, the long-time viewer out there will probably see the sky and think this is much later than in Burnley. Well, it's not. This is much earlier. Because it's so warm, the sky is so blue, the sun is starting to rise, and it already looks like it's
gonna be a hot one.
Yeah, later in the morning. Anyway, we are walking towards the village hall now, and it looks like these guys have left their banner out from the Jubilee. This then is the Walcote Memorial Hall and Playing Field, which is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. There's a skate park and a small play area, and in the corner of the playing field there's an insect hotel. Insect hotels are man-made structures created to provide shelter for insects. They can come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Most provide nesting facilities, particularly during winter months. The Walcote Memorial Hall was built in 2006 on the site of the Old Village School. It's run by the Misterton and Walcote Community Trust, and it's a very popular events venue. This parish has two war memorials. One is at St Leonard's Church in Misterton, and the other is here on the wall. They each bear the names of 16 men who served in this country's forces. Leaving the hall behind, there's a patch of land between it and the road for the local allotments. The fans, and you know who you are, will be all over these. Newbies, that's a running joke. I'm so pleased the missus is with me, because sometimes I just don't see things. I didn't see the insect hotel a few moments ago, but Nikki did. And Nikki's just spotted this, the bakehouse. Despite my best efforts, I couldn't find any information on the old chapel, which gives this street its name. However, I do know which property it is. It's the white one in shop now. At the end of Chapel Lane, there's another much larger play area, and this one features an adventure trail. Was I tempted? What do you think? Now, long-time viewers of the channel know that usually when I come to a place like this and I see an adventure trail, I will attempt it. Now, there isn't really an adventure trail here, but
It's too damn hot anyway.
I am tempted by these steps, which go around here, behind the climbing frame, over that bridge, and then behind this tree. I think it might be worth it for a laugh.
You want me to film it?
Can a duck swim? Here you go, here's the camera.
Okay.
Okay, this is the Village Idiot, TVI, taking on these steps and that bridge, take one.
Don't run, it's too warm. Here he goes. Behind the tree. Oh no, no, we've ducked out and dipped down behind the tree. Does it end there or something?
Sorry?
Does it end there?
Yes.
Oh.
Technically speaking, is that the first time I've ever completed an adventure trail? Bit easy though, weren't it? So
yeah.
I'll just find a harder one. You can take a short circular walk that links Walcote with Misterton from here. It can be made by taking a footpath off to the left, which joins a track which passes Misterton Hall and St Leonard's Church. Our route went the other way and back onto Brook Street. Here we find the entrance gates to Walcote Lodge, another fine property and the seat of Richard Arnold Watson in 1912. Nikki spotted an empty house here, so cheekily had a look. Home ownership levels are high here, with around 73% of households owning their homes outright or with a mortgage or a loan. We're almost back to where we began now, on Brook Street. Here we are at Cromwell Close, which commemorates the Cromwell family who lived at Misterton Hall. I was wondering when I was gonna come across the phone box. Here it is right now.
And it's not your standard red phone box. It is the next generation, the BT glass phone box.
You see these in town centres, generally speaking?
Not often now.
Yeah, but you see them more often in town centres than you would do out here in the countryside. So anyway, it's got the defib machine in it, and we are a few paces away from the car, which means we've almost finished the walk around Walcote, and as such, Misterton with Walcote. I'll give you today's picture bit next. And there you go, that is the parish of Misterton with Walcote. And it's now 7 o'clock. It's taken us about an hour to do that, and it's now starting to get a little bit warmer, shall we say. So we better get on with it, better get cracking to the next one before the heat becomes unbearable. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the parish of Misterton with Walcote, and I'm out.